Annunaki, the forbidden movie that shocked the whole world. The theory of human evolution is one of gradual progress. At least, that's what we've been told. Scientists say that around 5 to 6 million years ago, a species of ape stood up on its hind legs, marking the beginning of the early human race. For millions of years, our ancestors lived simple lives, with only a few key innovations like fire and basic tools to show for it. But then, something extraordinary happened. Around 20,000 years ago, human development took a leap so massive it defies explanation. From basic survival to building monumental structures like Göbekli Tepe, and then, within a span of just 12,000 years, to sending spacecraft into the cosmos. It's as if we suddenly had access to knowledge and technology far beyond our natural progression. How could such an abrupt transformation take place? This question has led many to believe that humanity's evolution wasn't entirely organic. The Anunnaki are often at the center of this mystery. Believed by some to be otherworldly beings who visited Earth and forever altered the trajectory of human history, they've sparked endless fascination and debate. Today we're diving into the most intriguing secrets, theories, and coincidences surrounding the Anunnaki. Who were they? What might they have done to accelerate human progress? And the big question, could they ever return? We all recognize ancient Sumer as the cradle of civilization. Long before the pyramids of Egypt or the mysterious Stonehenge, the Sumerians gifted the world with revolutionary advancements. The written alphabet, the wheel, sailboats, and intricate irrigation systems that transformed agriculture. Their cities were not only vast for their time, but were also meticulously organized under something remarkable called Namu, the first codified laws governing society. And that's not all. You've likely heard of their incredible astronomical knowledge, which laid the foundation for the duodecimal system. Think of the months in a year, and the sexagesimal system we still rely on today for minutes and seconds. Nearly 7,000 years have passed since their golden age, and here we are now, launching rockets into space and unraveling the mysteries of the universe. But here's where things get puzzling. Homo sapiens, our advanced species, has existed for over 300,000 years. That's an enormous span of time. So what exactly were we doing for the first 290,000 years? For millennia, progress has crawled at a snail's pace, yet within the last 7,000 years, we've made leaps that seem almost otherworldly. Why did humanity remain dormant for so long, only to suddenly explode into innovation and complexity? Mainstream science still struggles to explain this abrupt shift, but an intriguing theory emerges from the Sumerian cuneiform writings, one that challenges the limits of our imagination and redefines the story of human evolution. Let's take a closer look at what these ancient texts might reveal. In the texts left to us by the Sumerians, we understand that people before the technological boom were busy working in mines for millennia. That's why our development was halted. The people of the past mined for gold, huge quantities of gold, but in those times it had no value to mankind. There was, however, value for other civilizations. In fact, when you think about it, the facts show that gold is an excellent conductor and is used extensively today in electronics. Gold also aids in chemical reactions to purify the atmosphere and water. It is also used in the aerospace industry as well as in medicine. However, it is only today that we appreciate these properties. For people of the past, gold was just a beautiful and shiny metal to observe without any value. Why then did the ancients dig for it in the mines so hard? Here the cuneiform records also provide an answer and tell of the Anunnaki, the gods who descended from the sky and enslaved the people to supply them with gold. It was the reason they came to Earth. According to one theory of a man researching Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were not gods but a race coming from another planet. They needed gold to save their world from destruction. They used it to purify their atmosphere and water from pollution. However, gold was rare for their planet. That's why they came to Earth and started exporting it. In the beginning, people thought they were gods with all this technology, but the Anunnaki didn't pay any attention to them because they had professional workers to dig. Every gram of the precious metal mined was sent to their planet in an attempt to stabilize it. We understand from many different sources that there is an extra planet in the solar system that is massive and has a huge orbit, but we haven't found it yet. Some call it Planet 12, NASA refers to it as Planet 9, and others call it Planet X. To the Sumerians and Anunnaki, however, it was known as Nibiru. Astronomers today have observed orbital anomalies in the asteroid belt beyond the planet Neptune, which they suggest are influenced by a massive object orbiting a great distance from the Sun. However, such an object has not yet been discovered, but there are definitely traces pointing towards it. According to the texts, it makes one orbit around the Sun in 3,600 Earth years. Nibiru is believed to be the contaminated world of the Anunnaki. At some point, they realized that if they sprayed nanoparticles of gold into the sky of their planet, it would reflect the sun's rays and absorb the harmful radiation. They set out across the solar system in search of gold. So they came to Earth, which was extremely rich in this valuable material, and decided to establish a colony. What did the Anunnaki look like? According to several plaques found, the Anunnaki were 3 to 4 meters tall with elongated skulls and larger heads. Just a quick note, many ancient cultures around the world elongated their skulls to resemble those of the gods. The Anunnaki did resemble humans visually, but were often depicted with very rich robes. Their skin was fair-colored, and so were their eyes. They called themselves the Anunnaki after their Anu king. He sent his 2 sons, Enki and Enlil, to Earth to guide the gold mining. Once the Anunnaki's colony on Earth was fully operational, and their gold mining efforts began to stabilize their planet's atmosphere, they faced an inevitable problem. They needed more gold, and quickly. Transporting tons of the precious material to Nibiru was proving successful, but their workforce couldn't keep up with the increasing demand. That's when they turned their attention to Earth's native inhabitants. Humanoids, our early ancestors, had already demonstrated some skill with tools and survival instincts, but they lacked the intelligence and physical capability for the grueling work required in the mines. One of the Anunnaki leaders, Enki, proposed an audacious solution, a genetic hybrid. By combining the DNA of the Anunnaki with that of early humans, they could create a new species, one more intelligent, more physically capable, and, crucially, easier to control. However, the road to success was fraught with challenges. The first experiments were disastrous, resulting in grotesque mutations and creatures that seemed to echo the monsters of myth and legend. Cyclopes, disfigured giants, and other monstrous beings described in ancient stories. These beings were deemed failures, and, according to some interpretations, destroyed or abandoned. Desperate for a breakthrough, the Anunnaki decided to take a more direct approach. They used one of their own women as a surrogate, implanting a fertilized egg with a carefully engineered genetic mix. This time, the experiment succeeded. The child that was born was named Adamu, a name that many believe to be the origin of the biblical Adam. This hybrid creation was celebrated as a turning point. The phrase "created in their own image" found in Sumerian, Babylonian, and Akkadian texts bears striking similarities to religious narratives from around the world. From the Bible's Genesis to countless creation myths, the parallels are hard to ignore. Could these stories be fragmented memories of the Anunnaki's intervention in human development? Adamu and those who followed were sent to work in the mines, fulfilling the Anunnaki's grand plan. Yet this act of creation was more than just a utilitarian solution. It was the beginning of a complex relationship between humanity and its creators. A relationship that may still hold mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The developmental leap. Suddenly, humans changed from being just apes living in groups in caves not only mentally, but visually. This sudden leap in our evolution was so abrupt that it raises doubt, especially since we know that everything in nature happens super slowly. But there is something else. In the book Humans Are Not From the Earth, a few interesting facts are mentioned, such as we are not well adapted to the conditions of the Earth, whereas all animals are. The author of the book asks the following question: why have we lost the fur on our bodies since it helps us against the harmful rays of the sun all over the planet? Without it, as we well know, we are exposed to burns and more severe consequences. Our ancestors were covered with fur liberally everywhere, and for good reason. In a very short period of time, people changed abruptly and began to reproduce more rapidly. The Anunnaki taught their human creations how to make a house, and agriculture. They taught them culture but did not forget to send them into the gold mines. For hundreds of years, humans worked for the Anunnaki and obeyed everything they said. They were intelligent enough for mining, but not advanced enough to resist. At some point, however, that changed. The Anunnaki of the land began to have secret relationships with human women, and so more advanced humans emerged who had self-awareness and other feelings common to humans today. Thus, several generations passed, and these more advanced humans became dominant. They were more intelligent, but also more violent. They multiplied an awful lot and started making trouble. To reduce their population, Enki sent several disasters. Drought, disease, insects, you know the rest of the biblical punishments. But at some point he drove most of the people out of their colonial city, and so our ancestors drifted across the planet. As humans flourished, building cities with knowledge passed down by the Anunnaki, a new light appeared in the sky. While humans marveled at its mystery, The Anunnaki recognized it as their home planet, Nibiru, nearing Earth in its long orbit. Having gathered the gold they needed to stabilize their planet, the Anunnaki prepared to leave. They knew Nibiru's approach would wreak havoc on Earth, but they abandoned their creation to its fate. As they departed, chaos unfolded. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis ravaged the planet. Nibiru's gravitational pull caused oceans to swell, culminating in a colossal flood that swept across the Earth. This, many believe, is the origin of the Great Flood, a tale echoed in countless myths, including the Bible. Yet not all the Anunnaki were willing to let humanity perish. Some intervened, instructing a man named Utnapishtim to build a vessel and save seeds, animals, and life itself. Utnapishtim's story, found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, predates Noah's tale by millennia, suggesting a shared memory of a cataclysm. When the floodwaters receded, humanity began anew, forever shaped by the Anunnaki's legacy. Did they truly leave, or are they still watching? The echoes of their story continue to stir questions we have yet to answer. It's astonishing how cultures across the globe share eerily similar flood stories. In Hindu mythology, the god Vishnu, as a fish, warns Manu of an impending deluge. Manu builds a ship, saving his family and the seeds of all plants. The Chinese speak of a catastrophic flood that reshaped the earth. Polynesian legends recount Nu, a hero who escapes the waters in a massive canoe, taking animals with him. In Greek mythology, Zeus sends a flood to destroy humanity, sparing only Deucalion and Pyrrha, who survive in an ark and rebuild civilization. The parallels are uncanny. In every tale, gods descend, create humans, destroy them through a flood, and guide the survivors toward a new beginning. Could these stories be fragmented memories of the same event? Too many coincidences, don't you think? After the Great Flood, humanity faced a restart. Knowledge and advancements from the earlier era were lost, washed away in the destruction. Civilization had to begin anew. The Anunnaki, particularly Enlil and Enki, observed humanity's resilience and decided to intervene. They taught mathematics, engineering, and the foundations of culture and science, leaving a legacy that shaped our future before departing the Earth. According to Sumerian cuneiform calculations, the next passage of Nibiru near Earth is predicted to be around the year 2900. By then, we may have advanced enough to confirm if such a planet exists. The question remains, will the Anunnaki return? We would love to hear your answers in the comments. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.